G'day kids, Tezza here. I just wanted to share with you one of my secret weapons. It's basically a way to create catchy kind of intro animation that you can use in your videos, which doesn't take a lot of time and it doesn't take a lot of effort to learn how to do, but it looks like you took a lot of time and you took a lot of effort. The program that we're going to be using to achieve all of this is actually a web app. You don't have to download anything. It's a free web app. You don't even have to register. You can basically just go to PANZOID.com, as you can see up here in the URL. Then you've got these options. Now, the great thing about this website is that you've got a whole bunch of pre-populated templates of other people's ideas. Normally, you can just click on any one of them and you can open it in the clipmaker. At the moment, PANZOID seems to be having some issues where the projects are kind of loading up blank with no content. Let's just go back to the front page, right? So if you go back to the top here and you click on clipmaker, but now you can actually click on, let's click on this one. When you click on one of these in the project loader, it actually loads up like it's supposed to, and hey presto, I've got content. Check it out. So this is a 3D application that's running in my web browser and it's taking advantage of my GPU or my graphics card. I can actually edit content in here and you can see me navigating around this and panning around it in real time, which is pretty freaking cool, right? So how do we get in and modify an existing project to make it look as if we created this from scratch? You go into the menu down the side here. I've got this folder icon selected at the moment, and that's basically at the top of my projects. You can create a new blank project like what we had before. You can actually save a project to your computer. So if I click save and I can click download the project file and it'll automatically launch a download for me, and then I can click save file and save it to my computer. So it creates this PZ file, right? PANZOID project clipmaker file. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just showing you that it's possible. And then once you've done that, if I return to the editor, you can see that there's the option to load PZ file from your computer so that you can continue working on it in the web app. That's awesome. Let's just look at this menu just briefly. So that was the projects area of the web app. And then this basics is really just the properties of the project itself. We'll see that in a minute. The scene is basically about the background or your environment in the 3D world. This is where all the work gets done in objects. This is where we change the text that's currently on the screen to fit the text that is appropriate to our project. This is where all of your cool effects get applied, and obviously there needs to be a camera involved to convert this 3D world into a 2D video. Audio and music I'm not really going to dig into because I like to take the silent footage from the video, drop it onto my video editing program of choice, and then add the sound and the music on the timeline of my desktop video application. Downloading is how we not only download our video, but actually where we render the camera view from the 3D world into a video clip. Today we're going to focus mostly here on objects and the camera and the timeline down here. So let's go back to this timeline down the bottom, seeing as I was talking about that. If I scroll through, you can actually see how this animation is going to take place. But this is not actually how the video is going to look. If we want to see how the video is going to look, we need to look at it through the camera. How do we do that? There's a special icon here in the timeline, which basically takes us to our camera view, all right? And then we can rewind it to the beginning and then slowly travel through the timeline and you can see what's going on. So you can see, even though this is a web application, most likely written in JavaScript, holy cow, it's it's pretty spicy. If I want to preview what it's going to look like in real time, I'm just going to turn this speaker off because I'm not interested in hearing the background music, and then hit play. And this is what the video presentation looks like as designed by the original author and creator. In order to be able to access everything else here, I have to stop the timeline. I'm just going to bring it around somewhere where I can see most of the content. So while I'm editing, I can see how the changes are going to be reflected. So my timeline marker is up here. Now let's go and change the text. That's the first thing that I want to do. How do we do that? The text is an object in the clipmaker, so we need to go to the objects menu and I need to find the objects. Now you can see where it says group, obviously this is how you can have a container around all of the stuff that's in your project, and you've got these things where you can twirl down to see what's inside of that group. So there's a bunch of lights in here which are obviously doing what we expect them to do. Now, the way that the structure of the project is organized into these groups is entirely dependent on the person who created the project. Okay, so for me to find the text, I'm just going to have to use my common sense to try to figure out what's going on. So this says clipmaker. So now I'm looking for a bunch of text that says clipmaker in order for me to change to my my desired text. So my desired text, musicman.tv I'm going to do. So that's the project, name of the project I'm working on. First of all, I click on the text property. The actual content of the text property is down here. So I have to click in this box at the top here and change this text which says clipmaker. But not only do I have to change it, nothing is happening while I'm changing it. That's because the changes aren't updating in real time. I have to commit this change to that property by hitting enter. I know that sounds like a really obvious thing, but trust me, when you're going through and doing stuff quickly, sometimes you just forget to commit by hitting enter. And there's actually just a big mess here. You can see my Music Man TV thing is kind of in the background there, but there's still this other clipmaker stuff. That's because a lot of the time when these guys design these projects, they use multiple instances of a text object layered on top of each other to create a cool effect. So I've just got to go through and change all of these to Music Man TV because this apparently uses 3 text objects. Boom. Right, so as you can see, if I go through and I change all 3 of these text objects, now I've got Music Man TV. I'll take it out of this view here. I can just inspect it. I'm just grabbing the left mouse button and moving the mouse around in order to orbit around this object, and I'm using the mouse wheel to zoom out. So now I can see Music Man TV. Yep, cool. There's no other text objects that are hiding and lurking around that I've missed out on. Consider this to be done and customized. If I go back to the camera view, go back to the beginning of the video and hit play, I can look at all this and just go, oh sweet, man, that's my new title. That looks great, and I'm done. So let's do that. In another video, I'll get into the ins and outs of the animation, because I can actually still edit all of this animation, believe it or not. And you can do that by selecting a property of something that is animated. For example, you can see the camera is being animated around here to orbit around the main content. So if I was to click on the camera icon over here, you would see that there are these keyframes, and the color of all of the keyframes are related to the color of these properties up here. So if I was to move the cursor to where there's a keyframe on the timeline, if you look up here, you'll see suddenly these properties pop up, and these properties are the same color as what these keyframes are. Anyway, I'm not going to delve into it, but your mind should be racing with possibilities right now. I'll cover that in another episode, but let's just focus on downloading what we've got so far. So what do we do next? So the next thing is to go to the download area. Now we can't download it, we have to render the video, and we're going to do that just by hitting this button over here. We've got a couple of options. We can select good quality. That means it's going to take a little bit longer to download. There's very limited options in terms of format, so I'm just going to use MKV. I don't know, maybe it's better, who knows. And the other thing that you can't change over here is the resolution, but you can change it in the project properties, which is the basics area here. And I like to set mine to 4K if I've got a high quality result that I can reuse and reuse again in future projects, and I might be publishing a video in 4K, and therefore I want a nice 4K video clip. Now the other thing that I can do also is I can select 60 frames per second instead of 30 frames per second, and that's going to be an advantage in case I want to do some speed ramping to rapidly speed up and slow down the animation. I don't know, I'm just going to get into a habit of doing it. I don't know whether or not I'm going to do that in the future, but why not? It's only going to take a couple of minutes to render this. It might take 5 to 10 minutes, so who cares? Just chuck it in there. I've got a reasonably good GPU, and when I hit start render, it's going to calculate roughly how long it's going to take to render this. So here we go. This is looking like it's going to take roughly 5 minutes to render. Now that that's finished rendering, we're ready to download our video. So we click download your video, and then next thing you know, it'll pop open a new tab or a new window and offer you to download it. Now what I like to do is I like to give it a name. So I'm going to call this, I don't know what we were doing before. I'm just going to call it Fat Particle Animation MMTV, whatever. Just call it whatever you like. It's going to save it as an MKV file as discussed before. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how to prepare that for usage on your timeline. In my case, I'll be using DaVinci Resolve. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.